world is waking outside my window. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Direct my senses into the sunlight, for there are things that I must do. Wish me luck now, I have to leave you. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. With my friends now, up to the city. We're gonna shake the gates of hell. And I will tell them, we will tell them, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. That our sunlight is not for franchise, and wish the bastards drop down dead. Next time you see me, I may be smiling. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. I'll be in prison or on the TV. I'll say the sunlight dragged me here. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And I will tell them, we will tell them, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. That our sunlight is not for franchise, and wish the bastards drop down dead. Next time you see me, I may be smiling. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. I'll be in prison or on the TV. I'll say the sunlight dragged me here. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao.
Hey Hitler, you probably didn't even hate the Jews. That was just the net making you crazy, dog.
All of you, get back in the closet. You deserve a ass whooping. All of you, get back in the closet.
How
Go
much does it
yourself.
cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
They're evil. They are activists doing evil. So treat them like the evil that they are.
The time to start is now, right? The time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is now. Strikes are the most effective way to stop profits, get demands, and force policy changes. If you can shut down profit, you can make any politician do anything.
It's time to stop pretending otherwise. It's time to be ruthless, and time to afford them the same amount of grace that they give to their Palestinian victims, because they are only going to get more and more ruthless with their victims if you don't.
Mic check 1 2. Welcome to the stream. We'll start with headlines and then go into more specific stories. A lot of stuff has been developing today. Sorry I'm late. Hey Vitor, welcome.
Behind the lines of
Just realized I had it on mute.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Israeli government's approved the first phase of a Gaza ceasefire deal. It includes an exchange of the hostages held by Hamas in return for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Al Jazeera is reporting Israeli forces in Gaza have started to retreat behind the lines agreed to under the deal. Tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians are streaming from the southern part of the...
Dude. At least they're going back, you know?
Gaza Strip to the north. On Thursday...
What's new with you, Vitor? I'm glad to have you.
Hamas's exiled Gaza chief, Khalil al-Haya, said all Palestinian women and children will be released and issued a statement declaring an end to the war.
وإننا نعلن اليوم التوصل لاتفاق لإنهاء الحرب.
Today we announce that we have reached an agreement to end the war and aggression against our people and to begin implementing a permanent ceasefire, the withdrawal of the occupation forces, the entry of aid, the opening of the Rafah crossing in both directions, and the exchange of prisoners.
It comes as President Trump announced the Israeli hostages will be released from Gaza on Monday or Tuesday. Under terms of the deal, 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences and another 1,700 Gazans detained by Israel during the war will be released. Meanwhile, the U.S. is sending about 200 troops to Israel to monitor the ceasefire deal. This is Palestinian civil defense member Noor al-Shagoudmi, who joined celebrations Thursday in Gaza City.
Honestly, these are indescribable feelings. We can't believe it. But thank God, the war has ended and we are alive. Honestly, we hope the war does not come back and for this to be really the end.
In Tel Aviv, Israelis gathered at the public plaza known as Hostages Square to celebrate news of the ceasefire. This is Udi Goren, cousin of an Israeli hostage, Tal Haimi, who is confirmed dead in Gaza and whose body is believed to be held by Hamas.
Bringing back the hostages is just the first phase of this deal, and rightfully so, finally prioritizing bringing them home before anything else. But after we bring them all home, it's time to start rebuilding our future.
Meanwhile, Israeli army...
I don't know why Democracy Now! Keeps on interviewing these Israeli protesters. They always say the same shit. There's news in Brazil. A Supreme Court minister is going to retire early, which opens up a vacancy for Lula to appoint someone to the court. Hell yeah, dude. Building the coalition. We love to see it. Step in the right direction. A good deal. This news would never make it to me otherwise. Like, I do my best to try to gather world headlines, but yeah, man. I mean, Bolsonaro was convicted and then in Argentina, and America was too busy in the news cycle worrying about the death of Charlie Kirk. That was to be expected, but still, like, the way the United States media prioritizes news stories is really backwards.
Radio is reporting 600 aid trucks will be allowed to enter Gaza daily, coordinated by the United Nations and other international aid groups. Tom Fletcher's the UN.
So there's like Egyptians in there and stuff, and all kinds of people finally able to get in and help. The minister is 66 years old. He could stay until he is 75, which is the time that Supreme Court ministers stay, but he decided to retire early. God damn. What job can anyone do at 75? Like, who do you even represent when you're 75. I know it's up until 75, but still, like... In the United States, the Supreme Court justices, it's just for life. Just till they keel over. It's fucking crazy.
UN's top emergency relief coordinator.
So here is what we plan to deliver in the first 60 days of the ceasefire. We will aim to increase the pipeline of supplies to hundreds of trucks every day. Food, we will scale up the provision of food across Gaza to reach 2.1 million people who need food aid and around 500,000 people who need nutrition. Famine must be reverted in areas where it has taken hold and prevented in others.
We'll have more on the Gaza ceasefire agreement later in the broadcast. A grand jury has criminally indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James after President Trump instructed Attorney General Pam Bondi to go out.
It's only because of these, like, soup kitchens that are able to make it in somehow. It's all because of them that they created this lifeline for Palestinians in Gaza. Like, Ahmed Mouin is able to, and that whole camp was able to pretty much maintain their location through the most recent evacuations. I think they're either in central or southern Gaza. But yeah, he could hear bombing and stuff, and they were worried about the waves the other day on the beach. Swallowing people's tents, as he said.
After his political enemies, writing on X, quote, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility," Trump said. Lindsay Halligan, who President Trump installed to serve as U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia.
Here in Brazil, people who want to be a minister of the Supreme Court must be at least 35 years old and have remarkable legal knowledge. I'm just reacting to that in comparison to the qualifications of Brett Kavanaugh, who literally in his in a introductory interview or something in Congress, he said, defending his alcoholism, "I like beer." Oh god, dude. I'll never forget that, man. Saying it with his whole chest, with all of the, like, indignant attitude of, like, someone saying it to, like, their parent or something, you know? Anyway. That took me way too long to say.
Presented the case to the grand jury. Last month, Halligan secured charges against James Comey, the former FBI director. Trump forced out his previous U.S. attorney for refusing to bring charges.
She's haunted looking, isn't she? Just nothing behind those eyes. Soulless.
Virginia presented the case to the grand jury. Last month, Halligan secured charges against James Comey, the former FBI director. Trump forced out his previous U.S. attorney for refusing to bring charges against both Comey and James. This is Attorney General Letitia James.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding. And so today, I'm not fearful. I'm fearless.
The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to the Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. The Norwegian Nobel Committee announced its decision in a ceremony in Oslo earlier today.
She is receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy.
In 2023, Machado launched a campaign to challenge incumbent President Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela's 2024 election. She was barred from running after the government accused her of corruption and cited her support for U.S. sanctions against Venezuela. Machado has vowed to privatize Venezuela's state oil industry. She's praised right-wing Latin American leaders, including Argentina's Javier Milei. In 2020, her opposition party, Invade Venezuela, signed a pact formalizing strategic ties with Israel's Likud party, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Machado has said that if elected, she'll move Venezuela's embassy in Israel to Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We'll have more on Maria Corina Machado later in the broadcast with the Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Greg Grandin. The Nobel Peace Prize being awarded at a time when the U.S. bombed 4 boats off the coast of Venezuela, killing 21 people. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro said Wednesday the U.S. killed Colombians in one of the boats it bombed in the Caribbean for allegedly carrying drugs. In Peru, lawmakers swore in a new president.
We're gonna fucking go to war with Venezuela. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Dude.
38-year-old head of Peru's legislature, José soon after voting unanimously to remove President Dina Boluarte. Her removal comes after months of deadly protests in rural Andean and indigenous communities. Rights groups accuse Boluarte's government of using lethal force to suppress the protests. She was also enmeshed in a corruption scandal involving undeclared assets and watches. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the U.S. has begun implementing...
Yeah, the Nobel Peace Prize selections have been really weird. I would think that like a posthumous Nobel Peace Prize to Anas al-Sharif, maybe. I don't know if they do that though. I don't know if they give Nobel Peace prizes to people who are dead. I mean, like, I don't know.
Parts of a bailout for Argentina by finalizing a $20 billion currency swap with Argentina's central bank. Argentina's far-right President Javier Milei is an ally of President Trump. On Thursday, 8 Democratic senators introduced a bill that would prevent the Treasury Department from rescuing Argentina's economy. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren said, quote, "It's inexplicable that President Trump's propping up a foreign government while he shuts down our own," unquote. In Washington, D.C., the federal government shutdown has entered its 10th day. On Thursday, President Trump said at a cabinet meeting he'll permanently cut programs approved by Congress during the shutdown, like billions of dollars in climate and infrastructure for Democratic-led states, adding, quote, "We're only going to cut Democrat programs," unquote. The White House has suggested furloughed federal workers may not receive back pay. On Thursday, House Speaker Mike Johnson ruled out advancing a standalone bill to pay the salaries and benefits of military members who are due to miss paychecks on October 15th. Meanwhile, Food and Water Watch reports if the shutdown continues into next week, 5.3 million children under the age of 5 will lose access to SNAP food assistance and benefits, with many likely to go hungry. That's on top of more than 2 million people set to lose some or all of their SNAP benefits under the budget reconciliation bill Trump signed in July. A federal judge in Chicago has issued a temporary restraining order against President Trump's deployment of hundreds of National Guard troops to Illinois after Chicago and state officials sued to block the move. U.S. District Judge April Perry said in an oral ruling Thursday, deploying soldiers would, quote, "only add fuel to the fire that defendants themselves have started," unquote. The ruling came as Illinois' Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker once again accused Trump of overstepping constitutional limits on his authority.
At every turn that they've tried to militarize our cities. Indeed, look at what ICE and CBP are doing. They're wearing fatigues. They're carrying long guns, automatic weapons. They're coming to downtown Chicago, Michigan Avenue. What is the purpose of that? It's all a show.
Separately, another federal judge in Chicago ruled Thursday federal agents violated the constitutional rights of peaceful demonstrators, journalists, and religious leaders at recent protests against ongoing ICE raids.
They keep having these press conferences when, like, what about the rights of the people that are being infringed infringed upon. You're not gonna, I mean, a restraining order? A protection order? Is that all you're gonna do?
She said. Judge Ellis's temporary restraining order also requires all uniformed federal agents to prominently display identification like badge numbers on their uniforms or helmets. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, National Guard troops are scheduled to begin patrolling the streets of Memphis today over the objections of city officials.
Yet another city about to be overrun by Trump's brown shirt goons. This'll be, I mean, that restraining order will be like a test to see if they actually comply, because I don't think that type of pushback legally has ever been mounted against ICE
The national
or the military.
Said, quote, Oklahomans would lose their mind if Pritzker and Illinois sent troops down to Oklahoma during the Biden administration, unquote. Stitt stated that President Trump should have first federalized troops already in Illinois.
Vitor, like, if you want to know what's going on in America, the fabric of our society is being tested. Like, we're having a stress test of our, you know, societal stability.
Law that allows for new trials in cases with flawed scientific evidence. The trial court that convicted Roberson will now consider whether he should be granted a new trial. Throughout his more than 20 years on death row, Roberson has always maintained his innocence. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy.
Like a tall building, you know, our societal stability allows for some sway, but this is just turbulent day in and day out. What does Trump do after Charlie Kirk is assassinated? He starts invading cities one after the other. What the fuck? Like, on top of everything else, on top of ICE having a larger budget than, like, every police force combined in the United States. Have you seen the budget for ICE? It's like 18 billion or something like that. Ugh, 28.7 billion. Oh, we'll have local elections in Portugal this Sunday. Later this month, we'll have legislative elections in Argentina, and in November, the presidential elections in Chile. Lots of elections to happen in the meantime. Hell yeah. A lot of things to look forward to. Lots of things to bet on Polymarket. I'm just kidding.
Israel's government has approved the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal that includes a pause in Israeli attacks and the release of the remaining hostages held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinians detained in Israeli prisons. President Trump announced yesterday the Israeli hostages will be released from Gaza on Monday or Tuesday as he plans to travel to the Middle East. According to the deal, 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences and another 1,700 people from Gaza detained in the last 2 years would be released. Hamas has demanded the release of prominent Palestinian political prisoner Marwan Barghouti, but his name was reportedly secretly removed from the prisoner exchange list by Israel. Meanwhile, the U.S. is sending about 200 troops to Israel to monitor the ceasefire deal. The Israeli military Friday confirmed the ceasefire had come into effect as soldiers retreated from parts of Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinians, including families that had been forced to the south, began their trek back to northern Gaza after
I heard at least 100,000.
News that Israeli forces were withdrawing. Returning Gaza City residents made their way through mounds of rubble and destroyed neighborhoods, searching for any sign of their homes and belongings. Among them, Vida Haraz.
Check this out. There is
I came since the morning when they
video I saw of them like cleaning a mosque that they hadn't been in years. Like, imagine coming back to your home city after being displaced and reclaiming the destroyed buildings one after the other. It shows them like vacuuming the carpet in the mosque and stuff. Here, I'll find it real quick.
Time in America's history, with multiple recordings showing these vehicles leaving multiple parts, and some reports are saying that these vehicles and Israeli machinery are going completely outside of Gaza and not necessarily just withdrawing to what Israel is calling the defensive lines, or what was seen as the yellow line in the map that Donald Trump published earlier on, which is supposed to be an initial line to be followed by more withdrawal coming by Israel.
Nose is running.
The IDF are confirming that the mission ended. They're saying now that this mission ended, we need to be, of course, ready. And many of them were seen very happy to leave the Gaza Strip. That's indicating that there is a notion here inside of the Israeli army that we're not really just talking about an ending of an initial phase, but the withdrawal of Israel from Gaza to end the war completely. And there are multiple reasons for that. The first reason is Israel went in and out of the Gaza Strip several times, and that proved to be very problematic for the Israeli army. Many of the Israeli soldiers who were participating in the Israeli terror force, when they went into Jabalia, for example, or Khan Yunis, they were very critical of the fact that they had to withdraw, then go back in multiple times. People going back in their hundreds of thousands to the northern part of Gaza. They're going back to places that Israel destroyed, but they are very keen and they are very persistent on going back despite all of the Israeli aggression and bombardment. And although Israel previously was looking at Rashid Street, as it's called, before, but then after the ceasefire took place.
Dude, look at that. That's so many people. Oh my god, dude. I did not see this on my first watch.
Everyone started to go back to the north. Again, showing keenness that the Palestinian side is really interested in going back and rebuilding and living on their lands, regardless of all of the Israeli barbarity and destruction that took place inside of the Gaza Strip. And we saw people already rebuilding. For example, this was one of the first things that the people were doing.
Amazing. Yeah, that picture of all of those Palestinians returning to the ruins of Gaza City is like... that image. That's what perseverance looks like, you know? Like... that's what being connected to your roots is, that's what that looks like. That's wild.
To the north. Again, showing keenness that the Palestinian side... for
Yeah,
example, this
here
was
it
one of
is.
the first things that the people were doing in an area called the Nusayrat refugee camp in the Martyrs Mosque. In this image, as you can see here, people cleaning their mosque for the first time in 2 years. They're going back to the mosque and cleaning it, preparing to go back and have activities. Egyptian forces or Egyptian backed forces were seen also in Gaza preparing for large camps, very large camps going into the Gaza Strip, heavy equipment to prepare for many temporary housing locations, especially in central Gaza, seeing as Israel, of course, wanted to ethnically cleanse the population from the Gaza Strip, and the Egyptians are very keen on building more places for the people to stay, to remain in Gaza, and not allow Israel to get away with its ambitions. Of course, after everything that had happened, from an Egyptian perspective, it was very important that they do that. There were also celebrations in Egypt with, well, are these paratroopers? You can call them the tricycle, flying tricycles with the Palestinian and Egyptian flags.
But like, where was Egypt the last 2 years? They're providing aid to a graveyard, you know.
The developments happening also in relation to Qatar. Now, the Steve Witkoff, the American envoy, the main man of Donald Trump, he was seen with President Sisi. And with President Sisi, he was hailing the Egyptian president, supporting him in the efforts of Qatar, Turkey,
Anyway,
and Egypt. That's
all I wanted to show you. That I clicked on this because it was recommended to me. Israel spokesman emotional as all hostages to be released.
A live look at this hour. This is Over Gaza as we continue to cover everything related to the Gaza ceasefire that took effect just about 4 hours ago. Steve Witkoff saying essentially at this point the clock has started for that 72-hour mark for all of the hostages to be released. I do want to bring in David.
So within 3 days.
So as you have probably heard, they have announced a ceasefire, a theoretical ceasefire in Gaza. So these were some of the celebrations that took place among the long-suffering residents.
أمان من الحرب الحمد لله ربنا كتب لنا الأجر والصبر والثبات رغم ما فقدناه من ألم ومن خوف ومن جوع ومن كل شيء الحمد لله على سلامة الجميع ربنا يشفي الجرحى ويرحم شهدائنا ويرحم أموات.
I don't know, man. I'm apprehensively happy, but like, I don't know. It's just not going to be enough to stop Israel. Israel only speaks one language, you know.
To deliver for you here, we got a lot of stuff going on, and most of it sucks ass, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, so let's start with this. As you all know, Trump has been bombing Venezuelan fishing boats on a regular basis. I believe he's blown up at least 4 Venezuelan fishing boats, killed at least 20 innocent civilians in the process of that.
It's been 4
they lie about
boats.
It and say, oh, we're getting narco-terrorists who are a threat to the U.S. Complete and utter lies. In fact, the percentage of drugs that come from Venezuela it's very low compared to other countries in the region. It's like 10% or fewer of the drugs that come into the U.S. come through Venezuela. So it's lie on top of lie. It's an absolute war crime. It's illegal under U.S. law and international law. Well, come to find out, when you're blowing up random dinghy fishing boats, it turns out, they don't really give a fuck who they're getting. And the most recent boat that they blew up, according to the Colombian president, was a Colombian fishing boat, and they killed a number of Colombian citizens. So absolutely horrible. You have the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro. He came out and called this a war scenario in the Caribbean. And he also said, like, let's not kid ourselves. This is a war for oil, and this has to be stopped. So he called it out for what it is. He's saying the Trump regime is trying to overthrow Maduro and steal the oil. By the way, as Trump admitted in speeches publicly, I played the clip for you on this channel. He said it's about, we're going to take the oil, because they tried to do a coup in Venezuela in the first term. That's what the whole Juan Guaido thing was about. And this time around, they're going to try it again. And again, the heart of it is the oil. They also want a new puppet government in there. They want to give Eric Prince, the mercenary war criminal from Blackwater, they want to let him basically have a new project and occupy Venezuela. So really, really horrible stuff. Now, by the way, you want to hear crazy stories? So the New York Times is reporting that Maduro and the Venezuelan government, they seem to know that the Trump regime is like dedicated to doing this illegal regime change war and overthrowing their government. And so because of that, they're basically like trying anything and everything to get this not to happen. So the New York Times says the following, this is the title: Venezuela's Maduro offered the U.S. his nation's riches to avoid conflict. Venezuela's autocrat had proposed allocating his country's oil wealth and other natural resources to the U.S. and ending deals with American adversaries to appease President Trump. So listen to how crazy this is. Maduro's like, bro, listen, I'll do fucking anything to get you not to attack me. I'm not a threat to you. Everybody knows I'm not a threat to you. You know I'm not a threat to you. Let's...
Dude, what? I didn't realize the situation was that dire. Oh my god, dude.
Stop kidding ourselves. But fine, I'll cut off all of my business deals with China. I'll cut them off with Iran. I'll cut them off with Russia. I'll suck your dick, man. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't attack me. And basically, it was after that is when the U.S. said, the answer is no. And also, now we're cutting off all diplomatic ties with you. And we have 6,500 troops ready to attack you. We have 10 warships ready to attack you. We have special ops in the region. So, how you like them apples? So this is how fucking unhinged the Trump regime is. This is how unhinged. They've been given every single thing they want. Maduro's going, okay, you're basically like a mafia. You're the cartel here. I'll give the Don whatever he wants. And they go, we don't want to make a deal with you. We want to overthrow you. Come hell or high water. So fuck off. So that's insane, bro. And by the way, super important point here. New York Times is running this article. What does that prove? It proves everybody knows. Maduro's no threat to the United States of America. They're not even bothering to try to make that argument. Like, at least back during the Bush era, which was fucking horrible, but at least back during that era, they had to at least try to lie to you. Say, oh, sorry, we have to go to war in Iraq because Saddam Hussein is a threat to us. Like,
yeah, they're really bad at corrupt warmongering.
They're just like, we're not even going to try to lie. We're just going to illegally and offensively attack this country that's not attacking us and probably end up wasting billions.
It's like they just won't, like, picked a country that was vulnerable enough and far away enough but close at the same time to where they could just take advantage of them and steal generational wealth as well as the current wealth.
Venezuela preventing a U.S. false flag attack that they would have blamed on Maduro and used as the justification to do a boots-on-the-ground invasion. How crazy is that? Now, also, apparently, Maduro has requested an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council, citing expectations of an imminent armed attack by the U.S. So he feels like they've already made their mind up. It's going to happen. And I want the UN, hey, UN, please help me. You guys, please try to intervene because these motherfuckers are out of their goddamn mind. So that's where we are with Venezuela. Now, by the way, we just had the announcement today of the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump, of course, was basically campaigning for it and saying ridiculous things like, I stopped 7 wars. I stopped 48 wars.
Yeah. Like, Israel and the United States are going to start World War III. I mean, yeah, there's a temporary ceasefire so that Israel can get their hostages back, but who's to say that Israel's not just going to go back and start the genocide again once they have all their hostages alive and dead? Like, aren't they still bombing Lebanon? Aren't they still bombing Syria? Aren't they still warring with their neighbors? Is it Syria or Libya? Ah, god damn it. I'm bad with geography.
Knowing that this is a fascist regime. How about that? But no, they're going to give it to the opposition in Venezuela. Now, by the way, what did this woman do? And I told you, this is basically like half giving the award to Trump. This woman comes forward and says, I've decided I'm going to dedicate my award to Trump. So in other words, he did kind of get it. He did kind of get it. And this was the Nobel Committee trying to cover their ass, by the way, and have it both ways. They're giving it to him, but not giving it to him, which is why they gave it to her. They probably knew she was going to turn around and dedicate it to him, and they gave it to her anyway. Because they're fucking pathetic bitches. By the way, the Nobel Peace Prize, you might as well fucking use it for toilet paper these days. What a fucking sick joke this thing is. I mean, it's been a joke for a while, but now it's just like irredeemable. Which, by the way, the woman that they gave this prize to, she once begged Benjamin Netanyahu to invade her own country to topple Maduro. She begged a genocidal war criminal, hey, come topple my government for me. That's who this woman is. She also is a just total sellout. She's like Milei, Javier Milei, wants to privatize all of the wealth, all the natural resources in Venezuela. She wants to let U.S. companies basically fucking plunder her homeland. Like, that's who it is. She's a Western puppet is what she is. And so just a disgusting, disgusting decision. All right, now we also have this. This is a wild, wild story. So, as you all know, I mean, back in 2016, 2017, Trump would say stuff like this all the time. So he said Saudi Arabia, you know, they did 9/11, there are a bunch of terrorists there and stuff like that. In 2017, he said about Qatar, quote, Qatar has been a funder of terrorism at a very high level, And again, that was back in the day when we first got into politics. Well, guess what? Now, Trump decided in 2025, and Pete Hegseth spoke about it, that we are officially greenlighting a Qatari Air Force base in the United States of America. In fact, I believe it's going to be in Idaho. So now Qatar gets their own Air Force base in fucking Idaho. Now, why do you think that is? Why is he greenlighting it? It's very simple. Trump is currently building a massive golf course in Qatar. This, money-making resort-type venture. He also did one in Vietnam. He's been doing them all over the fucking place, making a tremendous amount of money illegally as president. This is totally against the Constitution and the emoluments laws. He can't be profiting from the White House, but he is, and the Democrats aren't holding him accountable, right? So he's got a golf course he's building in Qatar. He, of course, accepted a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar. That's just a total bribe. It was a gift to him. It was a total bribe. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, got a $1.5 billion investment from Qatar and other Middle Eastern countries. His top officials like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, they worked for Qatar. I believe they were like registered lobbyists for Qatar. So you wonder how we get to a place where there's going to be a Qatari fucking Air Force base in Idaho. Well, this is how. Because this is, without a doubt, the most corrupt regime, maybe of all time. You know, it's not even enough anymore to say it's the most corrupt regime in U.S. history. No, this is the most corrupt regime of all time. That's what it is. That's what we're witnessing. Now, I should also point out, there's been some criticism of Trump and the Republicans coming from some surprising places. So Marjorie Taylor Greene has actually been out there really sort of seriously breaking with the Republicans on a bunch of things. Breaking with them on the Epstein files, breaking with them on this fight over the Obamacare subsidies. Kind of surprising. Like, she's kind of leaning into this thing where she's trying to be a little bit of a maverick here. Well, we also have Laura Loomer decided to break with the president. This one is not actually that surprising because it's over the issue of Qatar. She broke with him for about 7.5 minutes last time he decided, I'm going to take that big bribe from Qatar, the $400 million luxury jet. So she spoke out about that. This time, similar thing. So she came out and said, never thought I'd see Republicans give terror financing Muslims from Qatar a military base on U.S. soil so they can murder Americans. I don't think I'll be voting in 2026. I cannot in good conscience make any excuses for the harboring of jihadis. This is where I draw the line. So, of course...
Holy fucking Islamophobic Batman. Jesus Christ. Moving on. This also happened.
We're also tracking breaking news out of Tennessee this afternoon. Officials say some people have died and at least 13 are still unaccounted for after an explosion at a manufacturing plant outside of Nashville. Look at these aerial images. At least one building was completely destroyed, and there's an active fire right now. We'll continue to update you on this story as well as more information comes in.
6 or 7 hours ago.
Senate will come to order. The clerk will read a communication to the Senate.
Washington, D.C., October 10, 2025. To the Senate, under the provisions of Rule 1, Paragraph 3 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, I hereby appoint the Honorable John Thune, a senator from the state of South Dakota.
Now, MIT is rejecting a proposal from President Trump offering funding benefits to schools that agree with his agenda. Now, the administration asked schools, including MIT, Dartmouth, and Brown, to freeze tuition, limit gender definitions, cap international students, and more. Schools that complied would get preferential access to federal funding. But among the restrictions was also that schools would be prohibited from having more than 15% of their undergraduates come from overseas. MIT President Sally Kornbluth released a statement this morning laying out MIT's core values and rejecting the offer from the White House. Her statement reading in part, quote, "The people of MIT gladly compete with the very best without preferences. Therefore, with respect, we cannot support the proposed approach to addressing the issues facing higher education."
Grand jury in Virginia indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James. The charges: 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of making false statements in connection with a home mortgage. So you'll remember this. Weeks ago, President Trump urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to charge James, who is now seen here walking outside of a courtroom. James denies any wrongdoing. She did that in a video statement. Watch.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General.
Letitia James there in the video statement. Let's go live to CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland continuing his late-breaking reporting. Scott, can you give us any details at this hour of the indictment, and how does it mirror her office's 2022 lawsuit against the president?
If you blink, you'll miss this indictment. It's so short read, just 5 pages long, not a ton of detail here, but here are the 2 charges. It's a count of false statements to a financial institution, and it's a count of bank fraud. What the Department of Justice is alleging in this short charging document is that when she purchased a home in Virginia in the summer of 2020, Letitia James claimed it to be a primary residence, which helps you qualify for a lower interest rate and a better deal, when in fact she was renting it out for profit. They say she accumulated, in their words, ill-gotten gains of $19,000. Not an enormous amount of money for a federal fraud case. That's the allegation nonetheless. Tish James has unequivocally and consistently denied wrongdoing with the purchase of a home, and she has pledged she will be vindicated in court on all this. But what happens next is just that. She has to go to court. 2 weeks from today, she'll be in the Norfolk, Virginia federal courthouse that's near the home in Norfolk, Virginia, and she will have
Alright, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for checking it out. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'll be doing some gaming later. Just a short one today. We'll have way more news on Monday and Tuesday, I guess, but maybe some updates over the weekend. But for now, peace out. Free Palestine, fuck Israel, and crush Zionism forever. I'll see you guys later.
Where's your fucking badge, you pigs? We go hard for Palestine. We escalate for Palestine. We fight for Palestine. We give it everything we got. We do not work with the police. We do not point people out to the police. We do not lay hands on our comrades. When we go hard for our people, you stand out the way. If you ain't with it,